Okay, I'm back to talk a little bit about Alison Krauss and the scene in the bar. One of the things that sort of establishes the scene is this music, that Alison is performing, and I'm a big Johnny Cash fan, and I'm a big Alison Krauss fan, so the combination to me seemed like an awesome opportunity if we could make it happen. And Alison and I had talked about trying to get some of her music in one of my movies whenever we could, and I thought, well, if I just put her in the film, then there's no way that it won't work, so that's where you get Alison from.
Well, he keeps trying to get me into movies, and it's amazing. And I first kind of met Zach over the internet about songs online and things like that. But I think about 4 or 5 years ago, the first one would have been The Watchman, and he was looking to do Hallelujah. And then the second one, we were looking at another song for Sucker Punch. And so now we have Johnny Cash's Ring of Fire. And a altercation ensues. There's a fight. So yeah, it kind of fits perfectly.
So even though you're singing the lyric, you see something about to happen. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The music forms a backdrop to this little scene where Henry and Ian Tracy kind of face off. And Henry did have to put up with a lot, getting beer poured on him, getting a beer can thrown at him, all that stuff. So it's not easy being Superman all the time. But, you know, the character, Ludlow, will get his comeuppance.
I just leave when I'm good and ready. Ooh. Yeah, I'm all out of beer. Oh, there he is.
Playing a jerk is, it has its good sides.
I don't hit him in the head.
Hey, asshole.
Everything that you've felt like saying and doing to people in the past throughout your life, when you control yourself, you can ball it up into one little moment of fury and sarcasm. It's good. You know, if you're playing good guys, you have to make everybody like you. If you're a bad guy, you don't have to care. This dude who broke my truck, he did a really good job. As you can see, it's jackknifed in an unusual position. And I'm about ready to run because it's probably going to blow. I think I might have to watch what I say to people from now on. Otherwise, my toys will be broken. And what can I say? Lesson learned. Thanks, Superman.
We took about 8 days in 2 different countries. The first part we filmed in Plano, Illinois, in the river.
There's that stunt of the cars and the bus doing the near miss. Then the effects guys launching the bus off the bridge.
We took a real bridge and we cut off the guardrails, which were going to be repaired anyway in the future. This thing is under tremendous, tremendous pressure.
There's times when we have guys that will drive things, but that river was about 4 feet deep, so no one would have really survived it. So that was all an effects rig.
This thing had to go just right.
4, 3, 2, 1.
How fast do you think this was going when it went over the edge?
45 miles an hour.
It went from 0 to 45 in what?
At the end of its pull, 20 feet.
The second part of this bus scene, when we actually film in Vancouver, it was in this huge high-tech tank in a big green screen room. The cool thing was the bus was on these huge hydraulic wires, pulling it up and down, launching into the water.
Hey, only Murray.
The scene with the water coming into the bus is truly terrifying.
The bus has to submerge and they have to look like they're panicking and the water level's rising. So we actually had sections of a bus where you could swim out this way or you could swim out the back. So it looks like they're being trapped, but they have escape routes and they have guys in there with them.
Dude, I fell out of the bus. Maybe a little bit over.
Yay, awesome!
This is actually a man-made quarry where they had water pumps under the water so that there would be a current to look like a river.
Everybody set? You set, John? Set. And action, Jim.
This is where we filmed when I dive into the water, which actually took a long time to film, even though it was about maybe a 4-second little shot. We filmed it, you know, more than 10 times just to get that really, really sleek superhero-like dive that my hands actually made a point. So when I dive into the water, I'd have to hold my breath and float underwater until I was out of the shot. So we had specialized divers there to make sure that I was okay and the rest of the kids were okay. The way they filmed it was they had all their huge high-tech cameras out on a big float, and then you'd have to take a little boat to get out to the cameras and back on land.
It's Alex again. To talk about the farm, the Kent family farm, and how that came about. We were looking for a classic Midwestern farm, and we actually found it, but it was in the wrong place. It was in the wrong landscape. So we actually considered putting it on the back of the truck and moving it, but at the same time, we had found another farm without a farmhouse. And so what we did was look at the farmhouse that we found 30 miles south and recreate it completely in this beautiful farm in the right setting that had an empty space where the farmhouse itself had burnt down. So the important thing with the Kent family farm, first of all, is to establish in this perfect, quintessential Midwestern American landscape. And part of that is not only the farmhouse itself and getting that right and the time it takes to build that, but to get the landscape to look right as well. Turned out the farmer was planting soybeans, so we had to persuade him instead to plant corn, and we had to plan that far enough ahead in the right cycle of the season so that the corn would be at the height we needed it to be when we actually got to the set.
Hey, I'm back. This is actually the scene where me as young Clark Kent, 13-year-old Clark Kent, is introduced to the StarCraft. For me filming this, it was really crazy to be able to see how high-tech they actually built this thing. You know, you might think that some of it's CGI, but it was all real. None of that was fake, that was actually there. And for me to see it for the first time, I thought that was just epic because there's never been anything that high-tech for the Starship. When Jonathan goes to get the command key out of his little desk area, that is really something cool to look at because you might not notice it because the scene goes by a lot quicker, but this is actually where he does all of his research about Clark and about alien sightings and spaceships that people have seen through the years that he's had Clark.